Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. Spellbinders just released a fun collection called Fresh Picked. Spellbinders has lots of fun releases to kick off 2024. I'll be using several of the new releases, starting with their Fresh Pick collection. The collection includes 4 floral die sets, 1 sentiment die set, and also an embossing folder. This first die set is called Fresh Picked Buttercups. The next one is Fresh Picked Daffodils. Daffodils were one of my mom's favorite flowers, so I couldn't resist picking up that set. The next set is called Fresh Picked Anemones. This set is one of my favorites. I love the design of the flowers. The last floral die set is Fresh Picked Berries. The next die set is a sentiment set called Fresh Picked Sentiments. Lots of great general sentiments. We have thanks, hello, for you, smile, bloom, make, wish, and hi. And the last item in the collection is an embossing folder called Columns. It creates a really fun background for your flowers. I do have a few cards to share with you using the new collection. I'll start off using the Daffodil die set. I have a piece of teal cardstock, place it on an A2 size card base. I've already gone ahead and cut out all of the pieces for the flower and also the sentiment. I'll start off by assembling the 2 daffodils. I did cut out the flowers from some pattern paper. I used Lawn Fawn's Watercolor Wishes collection. I chose yellow pattern paper for the petals of the flower and orange pattern paper for the very center of the daffodil. For the 3 round pieces at the end of the profile daffodil, I used some gold mirror cardstock. And they are fairly small, so I'm using an embellishment wand to pick them up. Just put a small drop of Barely Art glue down first, pick up those pieces, then press them in place. Now I'll assemble the second flower using the same yellow pattern paper for the petals, orange pattern paper for the larger centerpiece. Then for the very center, I have gold mirror cardstock for that back piece, and a lighter yellow shade of the pattern paper for that very center piece that has all the holes. I'll just glue all of those together. I'm adding the word hello. This is from the new sentiment die set. I cut it out 3 times, once from gold mirror cardstock and 2 pieces from black cardstock. And I'll layer all 3 together just to give the sentiment a little bit of dimension and stability. Once I have the flowers all assembled, I'll start by attaching the leaves and stems. And I love how the design of the leaves and stems sort of curl around each other to create the background of the card. I think it gives the finished card a very whimsical look with all the fun leaves and flower designs. I'll glue both of those down first, then I'll add the 2 flowers. And I'm laying them out first to make sure I get the placement correct so there aren't any pieces that are overlapping. If you adhere everything correctly, it should fit nicely on an A2 size card. Of course, you can always use just one of the flowers. You don't have to fill the entire background. But I think it gives it a really fun look. Once I'm happy with the placement of both of the flowers, I'll first attach the daffodil on the right-hand side. Then I'll put glue on the back of the other flower and adhere it in the upper left-hand corner. I think the flowers would look really cute popped up with foam dimension, but I'm trying to have more flat cards this year. It makes them easier to mail and also to donate. I will still make plenty of cards with bling and foam dimension, but I'm trying to make sure with every video to at least do 1 or 2 flat cards. I'm also trying to use more general sentiments. So there is my finished card, and this is card number 1. For card number 2, I'm using the Fresh Picked Buttercups die set. The pattern paper I'm using for the background of the card is from Honeybee Stamp's Grain and Grunge collection. It's one of my favorite paper pads. It's basically all lovely wood grain patterns, so it works perfectly for cards year round. I've already gone ahead and cut out all of the leaves and stems. Used a fun bright green cardstock color. I'll lay them all out on the card. That way I'm sure everything fits perfectly. Now I'll start gluing them down. I'll start with the leaves in the lower right hand corner. Then I'll add the next leaves in the middle, the small leaves and stems in the lower left hand corner. Then I'll add the piece in the upper right hand corner, and finally the larger piece in the upper left hand corner. And if you're unsure of the placement of all of the leaves and flowers, you can always follow the sample picture that's included with the die set. But remember, you don't have to use all of the pieces to create that background. You could use just one or two of the flowers. I just really like the look of all of the leaves and flowers sort of twisting all around on the background. And I think the green leaves and stems look so pretty against the dark brown wood grain pattern paper. After I've adhered all of the leaves and stems, I can start adding the flowers. And I use this lovely blue color for the flowers. I know the set says Buttercups, which would normally mean yellow, but I thought the blue looked really pretty. For this die set, there are several flowers that are open and also quite a few closed buds. I'll start by adding the open flowers, and I'm just putting glue in the very center of the flower. That way if I want to curl the petals up, I can for that extra look of dimension. Once I have the 5 open flowers adhered, I'll start adding all the buds. And these line up perfectly with that background piece on the leaf stem area. I found it easy to figure out the placement of all of the bud pieces, but you could always lay them all out first before adhering them down. But they really only fit in one area. This new collection is so fun. I know I'll get a lot of use out of it. And I love that you could add any sentiment, so the cards will work for themes year round. It's also nice that the die cut pieces aren't super small. Some of the centers of the flowers are on the smaller size, but they're not super fiddly like some die sets. Another nice thing about the die set, if you noticed earlier when I was showing them all, many of the similar pieces are all hooked together with one die. So all of the centers of the flower are one die. You only have to pass it through your die cutting machine one time. It would be a lot more work if you had to cut out every single piece individually. For the center of the flowers, I used some light yellow cardstock for that background piece and an orangish yellow cardstock for the top piece, which has all the little holes. I'll glue the 2 pieces together, then start adding them in the center of the open flowers. I don't think it really makes a difference which center goes in the center of which flower. Other than the 2 smaller flowers, I'm adding that smaller center piece. I'll be adding the sentiment thanks, and I cut this out from some off-white pearlescent cardstock. I did cut out 3 pieces and layered them all together, giving it that little bit of dimension and also some stability. Since I'm adhering that sentiment over a bunch of different die cut layers, I didn't want one area to start sagging down. So it does help to have those multiple layers. So there is my finished card, and this is card number 2. I love how this card turned out. The blue flowers and green leaves look so pretty against the dark brown wood grain background. Now moving on to card number 3. Just to save time on the video, I've already adhered all of the leaves down. You may notice in the upper left-hand corner, I have a little cut out of one of those background pieces. Had a little oops when I was die cutting, but since that area will be covered up, I wasn't worried about it. This card features the Fresh Picked Berries die set. I have some burgundy colored cardstock for the background, use a lighter green cardstock for the leaves. For the flowers or berries, I use 2 different shades of pink cardstock and yellow cardstock for the end piece of the flower or berry. I've already assembled most of the berries. I'm laying out all of the berries on that little bud part of the leaves. Some of the berries are smaller, but I kept ending up with one spot where the berry needed to be larger because you could still see some of that green behind it. If you're creating the full background with all of the die pieces, you will need to cut out 2 sets of the berries. You'll need a total of 12 berries for the full background piece. Of course, you can always modify these, maybe just use 1 or 2 of the branches with berries. But for my first time using the dies, I really wanted to do the full background. And I do apologize, didn't realize I was almost going off screen with my card. I try to mark the areas where my camera shows, and I must have marked it a little bit lower than what it actually is. I'll glue down all but one of the berries. That one size is just a little too small for that background piece. I moved the berries all around, trying to see if I had one in the wrong position, but I still did end up with one small berry. So I'll set that one aside and go and cut out another berry. So I'll assemble that one here real quick. I have the light pink cardstock for the background piece, the darker pink cardstock for the main part of the berry, and the yellow cardstock for the tip. For a sentiment, I'm adding Thinking of You. This sentiment is from Spellbinders November 2023 Glimmer of the Month Club. And I believe they do still have some extras that you can buy without subscribing. This was a great set since you could hot foil a bunch of sentiments, cut them out with the included banner die. So I dug through that stash of sentiments and pulled out Thinking of You. And it has some gold glimmer foil. And I think the white banner with the gold sentiment looks pretty on this card. For a final finishing touch, I'm using a white gel pen and adding a little bit of detail to the end of all of the berries. So there is my finished card, and this is card number 3. It was fun trying different color combinations for the cards. For card number 4, I've already gone ahead and embossed the background using the new Columns embossing folder. I embossed some white pearlescent cardstock and added a lovely gold watercolor splatter. At the bottom of this panel, I'm adding a 1-inch strip of green cardstock. And apparently I cut that green strip just a little bit too short, so I did need to trim off a sliver of the white card base. This card features the fresh picked anemone flowers. I couldn't resist making a pretty pink flower. I used the darker pink cardstock for the background piece, a lighter pink cardstock for the front petals, and 2 different shades of yellow cardstock for the center of the flower. When adhering the flower, it does help to put the center pieces in first before adding the final petals on the outside. But it does help to hold up those front petals to get the proper placement for the center pieces. For the stem and leaves, I use a slightly lighter green cardstock than that green strip at the bottom of the card. This die set does include 4 flowers, so you can fill the entire background. But for this card, I decided to just use 2 of the flowers. And these are the 2 larger flowers. To make sure I have enough space for the flowers, I'll first lay out the stem and leaf pieces. I also want to make sure there's enough room for the sentiment, and I'll be putting that in the upper right-hand corner. I'll first attach the flower on the right side. This is the shorter flower. Then I'll adhere the stem piece down on the left and the pink flower on top. And you could pop up the flower with a little bit of dimension, but again, I'm trying to leave some of my cards nice and flat. It already has lots of beautiful shimmer with the watercolor splatter on the background. Once both of the flowers are adhered, I'll add the sentiment high. And I did cut out 2 of the high sentiments and adhere them together for that little extra stability and dimension. I'll put glue on the back and adhere the sentiment in the upper right-hand corner. Final finishing touch, dotting the eye. So there is my finished card, and this is card number 4. Using the same die set, I have a second card. This time it features all 4 of the flowers filling up the background. I think the purple color looks beautiful against the craft background. I added the sentiment just saying hello, and this was another leftover hot foiled sentiment. And for this card, I did add some gem stickers from Spellbinders. As I mentioned earlier in the video, Spellbinders has lots of fun new releases this month. Here's a peek at another release that is available now, and I will be using one of the die sets with the fresh picked flowers. I will be doing a video later this month using this new release. Here are just 3 of the new die sets: Smart Glasses, Birthday Dinosaur, and Dancin Birthday Dragon. It's a super cute collection, and I do have a link in the description box if you want to check it out. For my final card, I've already assembled most of it. I used the fresh picked Buttercups die set, and it features some beautiful pink flowers. A local craft friend saw this collection and thought it would be really cute to add glasses to a few of the flowers. So I went with her idea, cut out 3 pairs of glasses from some dark brown cardstock. And just adding the glasses on the flowers looked a little odd, so I decided to add some googly eyes. And I know not everyone is a fan of googly eyes, but sometimes it's just fun. The googly eyes I'm using are self-adhesive. I'm trying to get that backing off, and it is really sticky, but I always like to add that little bit of glue just to make sure they don't pop off. I'm only adding glasses to the 3 larger flowers. Some of the backing on the googly eyes was really hard to get off. I was using my reverse tweezers to pull off that release piece. One final flower that needs some googly eyes. Put that glue on the back and pop those eyes in place, trying to get them centered inside the glasses. For a sentiment, I cut out the word smile, and I have 3 different layers for the sentiment. I used gold mirror cardstock for the very top layer. And there was just enough space to add the sentiment on the left side of the card. I think the smile sentiment works perfectly with the googly-eyed, glasses-wearing flowers. So there is my finished card, and this is card number 6. Now here's another look at the 6 cards I made using Spellbinders' brand new fresh picked collection. This is such a fun collection. I know I'll get a lot of use out of them. If you are interested in any of the products I used in this video, I do have links provided in the description box below. And I'll also add a link for Spellbinders' January releases if you want to check out all the other fun items. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.